Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books, and I'll let you know what I thought about them, and we always start with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week, Ice Cream Man number 25. So excited to have Ice Cream Man back on comic book shelves. This is one of my favorite comic books going on right now, and issue number 25 was absolutely freaking fantastic. I loved it. This book encapsulates everything that Ice Cream Man represents and has established throughout 25 issues, and it does it impeccably well. W. Maxwell Prince goes above and beyond in every single issue, giving us an anthology series of weird, surreal, horror-driven, sci-fi-esque type tales that have a tinge of hope, but a lot of despair as well. It's a great book that's about the human experience, and it's told in a very surreal and cerebral type way. Then, of course, you get artwork by Martine Morazzo, Crystal Halloran on the coloring, good old Neon on the lettering. It just makes something so amazing. And one of the most amazing things to me about this book is that even if you've never read a single issue of Ice Cream Man, you can read this and you will understand kind of the vibe of the book. Now, this is an extra-sized anniversary issue, so we get the main story, which has a bunch of quirky little parts going on. It's about a plane that's just like barreling down to Earth. It's on this path of destruction, and all these people on the plane are super weird stretch, and some people don't seem to care at all. Other people seem to care too much. Some people are just kind of right there in the middle, and of course, the world around it. This has got callbacks to earlier issues of Ice Cream Man's. It's got set up for things potentially in the future, especially with the backup story. That's right, we got a backup story here that leans a little bit heavy into the ongoing mythology of the Ice Cream Man universe, and it got me very, very excited. This was one of the best issues of Ice Cream Man I've read, and literally, Ice Cream Man is filled with the best issues of Ice Cream Man I've ever read. Issue number 25, the pick of the week. From Image Comics. Also from Image Comics, we have King Spawn, issue number 1. Todd McFarlane launching an ongoing Spawn title for the first time in, I guess we can say decades, right? This time he's joined by Sean Lewis. I'm a fan of Sean Lewis, Thumbs, The Few, just to name a couple. But working on this with Sean Lewis is, of course, Todd McFarlane. And what this is it's, I don't know, it works as an auxiliary Spawn title, and that's fine. Spawn's been doing some really interesting stuff right now. They're basically doing the Spawnverse, right? Where there's all these different versions of Spawn throughout time and space kind of coming together into one moment in time and space. And it's crazy. And this, I guess, is going to gives a new level of depth to what's already going on. It gives more room to kind of flow this stuff out, these ideas, and that's what this book is filled with. Lots of cool ideas. If you haven't read Spawn in a while, you can pick this up, and you may seem a little bit confused here and there, but I've been following the book since 300, and I'm enjoying it. So this has got really cool artwork. The artwork is by Javier Fernandez, dark, noirish. The writing's pretty solid. It's got a bunch of backup stories that are teasing future Spawn stuff. So right now is a really great time to be a Spawn fan. And if you haven't been on board, just jump on board. We're still accepting applications in the Spawn fan club. So jump on with King Spawn number 1. I liked it. It was super cool. It didn't define itself outside of what the normal Spawn book is, like concretely enough for me, but it was still really freaking fun. I had a lot of fun with it. Then we got Echolands, issue number 1. This from J.H. Williams. I'm a huge fan of his work, and W. Hayden Blackman doing the scripting as he has been for J.H. Williams' work for the last bit. And then we got Dave Stewart and Todd Klein. So Dave Stewart, who I'm on record as saying multiple times is one of the absolute best colorists that comic books has ever had. And then Todd Klein, who I'm on record of saying is one of the absolute best letterers that the comic book industry has ever had. And then we got J.H. Williams III, who I am on record as saying is one of the greatest comic book artists of all time, and Blackman does a decent job of conveying the idea. So the big thing is it kind of seems like a gimmicky book because it's done in a panoramic type view. See, it's not your typical thing. It's like this. Now, I've read books like this before. There were some Chuck Austen books back in the day from Marvel Comics that tried to do this. Was it Eden's Fall? Eden's something. Eden's Trail. It's some kind of like manga influenced one. But this, I'm going to tell you what. Out of all the books that I've read that have this kind of format, like the new X-Men annuals and whatnot, nobody does it like J.H. Williams. The artwork in this book is amazing. And the way that this panoramic scope type thing is used to tell the story in a very fluid, dynamic, innovative, and way like you just don't see it. Now, I know a lot of people roll their eyes at the idea of this, but trust me, it frickin' works. It was beautiful. It was different. It was exceptional. The story is okay. It's about this woman. She's like a thief, and she stole the wrong thing from the wrong bad guy, right? And so now this is basically a big chase scene, and there's very little done as far as world building, very little done as far as character work, right? But there's just enough. And the innovation of the art technique absolutely just cemented it as being memorable, as being exceptional, and as being important. I loved this book. It was almost pick of the week. Story could have been stronger. You know, like I said, we got one of the best artists. We got one of the best letterers. We got one of the best colors. I'm talking about in comic book history. Another writer could have probably sung it to another level, but I'm not going to dock it down too much because I haven't seen anything like this in a while. This was awesome. Echolands #1. It may seem like a gimmick, but it's actually using that format, which I think is amazing, kind of quite brilliant. Then we got Saint Mercy, issue #1. This is from Top Cow. This one was all right. So it's kind of trying to, it's trying to blend like the Western kind of trope with like this Incan, human sacrifice type thing. So it's about this woman who's been raised to be a sacrifice for her Incan gods or whatever. And then it has this other story in the Old West, and they're trying to bring it together, but it just never quite comes together for me. It's interesting enough. The artwork was super solid, but the book overall just never quite came together cohesively, or nor did it really hook me into wanting to find out more about the story. It just kind of made me a little bit more confused and perplexed. The Department of Truth is here with issue #12. I really like this issue of Department of Truth. The last couple I haven't really been that into. It's because it was the Bigfoot story, and as much as I was looking forward to that, I just didn't like the technique that James Tynion decided to use with the whole dirty journals, right? Giving us, there's a lot of exposition-heavy pages, and they're just, seriously, in this issue, there are just pages of just info dumps. But the way that Martin Simmons works the artwork, it makes it work so well. It makes it so compelling. It makes it so dark, so visceral, so guttural, right? That the journal pages just didn't do that for me. But this is a turning point in the book. I really liked it. It seemed almost like, was the book directionless over the last several issues? You realize that, in fact, was not. It is all for a very distinct purpose. That purpose was revealed here in issue #12, and I loved it. And they're tackling, more stuff. The reptilian undergrounds, how these conspiracy theory groups on Facebook or whatnot, or social media, how they can get influenced and wrapped into this. It touches on a whole history of it, like they've been doing. I love it. The Department of Truth, #12, was great. Visceral. Like, it's artwork and lettering and a story so sharp you can literally cut your brain by reading it. Made in Korea is here with issue #4. I believe it's the penultimate issue. I think there's only 5. I've been liking this book. Made in Korea is about a world in which most people can no longer biologically have children. So they have these like sophisticated androids and AI programs that they built, these little, that look like little kids that you can basically buy, and you get to have your own kid. Well, there's one that's been tampered with by one of the workers for the factory, who then leaves the factory to try to find this being because he's done something very interesting with her programming where she's going above and beyond her programming. And she's just now a kid to this like suburban family or a lower income or a lower middle class family, something like that. And she gets coerced over the last couple issues to kind of become involved in this school shooting. So the book takes a really dark turn here. It delves into that, if that's something that's uncomfortable, that makes sense. But that it dives into that, and it kind of paints her in a different light. I really like this book. I like the artwork. I like the writing. It's written by Jeremy Holt, George Shaw, and the artwork. I have 4 issues in, and it's impressed me because It has not gone in the direction that I necessarily thought it was. It's making statements. It's being rather bold while doing it, but at the same time, giving us a very subtle story about identity and belonging and humanity and emotion and disconnection and all kinds of different things. Made in Korea, number 4. Loved it. Really thought it was cool. Siphon, number 2 is here. I thought issue number 1 was all right with some solid artwork. I thought issue 2 was a step up as far as the story goes, and the art was maintaining its solid state throughout. I really like it. Siphon is about this dude who's been gifted this power that he can leech off the negative emotions from people. Well, he winds up at the end of the first issue meeting this dude who also has similar powers to him, and in this issue he explains we can leech off the bad stuff and cause bad things to happen to us physically, or we can also leech off the good stuff and heal ourselves. So he winds up getting wrapped up into this imbalance of helping and hurting and this and that, and really solid issue, great color work, decent line work. I really liked it. Thought Siphon 2 was an improvement on the first issue, which I thought was solid enough to come back for issue 2. Definitely solid enough to wrap up for issue 3, which I believe is the final issue. Jumping over to Marvel, we get Darkhawk. Darkhawk number 1, brand new Darkhawk. Kyle Higgins, Wanan Ramirez, Erica Arnixia. Really liked this book. I was not looking forward to it. I'm an old school Darkhawk fan. When I was a kid, like 11, 12 years old, Darkhawk had come out. I was a big fan. I was really disappointed that they weren't bringing the original Darkhawk back, and I was really nervous that there was going to be a completely new character, a completely new origin for a new Darkhawk. But I liked it. I liked it a lot. Kind of felt a little bit like High School Musical meets Darkhawk. I mean that in a really good way. Mostly because this guy's like the basketball star of his school. His life takes a rather tragic turn, and then he's gifted with the stone, and he becomes Darkhawk, and it's fun. It was a good origin. It introduced me to his character, to his world. It got me emotionally involved and engaged. It got me understanding all the pieces around him. Had a little thread of a mystery that revealed itself towards the end to make a very enticing cliffhanger, and it totally respected the essence and the history of Darkhawk and the franchise, the legacy, and I really liked it. This was a really solidly done Marvel issue number 1 of another attempt to do a new Darkhawk character. I liked it. Winter Guard number 1. This one's okay. Actually, I was not looking forward to this one whatsoever, and it kind of rather surprised me. So it's trying to pick up on the success of the Black Widow film. That's a weird thing to say. It's trying to pick up on the familiarity of the Black Widow film, Yelena and Red Guardian, focusing on that, spinning out of the pages of Avengers. I feel there's a lot of stuff going on in the pages of Avengers with the Winter Guard. In recent issues, they've kidnapped She-Hulk, for instance, and they've taken her to the Red Room, and there's this new Red Widow, and there's all kinds of things going on right now in Jason Aaron's Avengers runs that feel very disconnected. It's almost like they were like, oh, we won't really have time to delve too much into the Winter Guard, so we're going to let somebody else to come in and do it. And yeah, it's Ryan Cady. It's decent enough. It's all right. It's not bad. The artwork is okay, kind of subpar at times, I would say. Nothing to write home to mother about, but the story was actually pretty decent. I liked Yelena and this Red Guardian tied together. I liked them versus the Winter Guard. I mean, there's lots of action, superhero type stuff. I thought it was okay. I thought it was okay. Let's just say that. SpiderMan Life Story Annual. Number 1, this is interesting. They've already done the collection. Now you got an annual. Now you're going to have to redo a new edition of the trade paperback just to put the frickin' annual in there. Why? Because it's good. It's Chip Zdarsky. It's Mark Bagley. It's that same creative team coming back. So Spider-Man Life Story was Chip Zdarsky and company doing a story of what if Peter Parker at 15 years old became Spider-Man in 1961 and then aged up through the years like natural. Let's do an issue on each decade. They're doing it with Fantastic Four right now. So this one, I was curious to see what they were going to do. This is a J. Jonah Jameson-centric book. It focuses on him, deals a lot with the aftermath and guilt that he feels after the whole Spider Slayer Scorpion debacle. So I like that. I liked this approach. J. Jonah Jameson has been written so well by Chip Zdarsky, not just in this, but in other books like the Spectacular Spider-Man run that he did. Yo, this was really good. I liked it. And I almost was like, why go back to that world? What else could they possibly have to explain? And yeah, the J. Jonah Jameson stuff, which was really freaking good. And just like the series, it goes through the decades, 60s into the 70s, through the 90s and whatnot, but it's telling Jonah's story in a very masterful way. I absolutely loved it. The drama was there. The action was there. It was super solid. Spider-Man Life Story, annual, #1. So there you go. Then we got Extreme Carnage coming back with Riot, #1. This one's all right. So if you're into this book, you're going to continue to be into it. Basically what's happened is that Carnage has kind of taken over the hive mind of a bunch of symbiotes, and he's reaching out to these Life Foundation symbiotes and trying to take them over, like Phage, Agony to Come, Riot. And this one, you're going to get Toxin involved. You already got Agent Anti-Venom involved, and you have Scream, and Scream died. But now a new symbiote has been born, and it's Scream mixed with the Anti-Venom symbiote, and it's Silence. The sound of silence. Anyway, this one was all right. Like, I haven't really been digging that much this run, this arc, whatever. This directly picks up from the last ones. One of the faults on this one is the other ones kind of do focus a lot on the named symbiote from the title. This one, very little Riot, just a lot of setup, just kind of like a bridge to the next bit, but it's decent enough, and symbiote fans should be happy enough, I'll say. Amazing Spider-Man 72. Another issue where, well, mostly nothing happens. Let's just say that, okay? So we still got Spider-Man in this fight with Sinister Six. It's just fights. It's fine, I guess. A better artist could have been, like, made that more dynamic and kinetic and really connected more visually to make the other parts of the story interesting. If the other parts of the story were not just the same frickin' thing over and over and over again. Kindred showing up and goes, we're nearing the end of the story. There's going to be some secrets revealed, but not quite yet. Oh, that's every issue of Nick Spencer's Spider-Man. Enough said. Thor #16 is here. I like this issue. I thought it was pretty decent. This Revelation story, I don't know where we're doing. It's like Donny Cates is taking a little bit of a breather before he ramps up to what's coming up. So we got, you know, a barroom bonding with Odin, it says here. That's kind of misleading on the cover, but there is some father-son type stuff here. There's a nice conversation between Jane Foster and Thor. They're talking about different things that are going on. There's a revelation about Thor being able to speak in a New York accent or whatever. It's a weird bit. I don't know. Thor #16, I didn't really like 15 that much, but 16 didn't bother me as much as 15, but it's still just kind of like, yo, man, like, I thought this book was going to be punk rock, explosive, no holds barred, throwing it down, pedal to the metal, and so I thought it was okay. Amazing Fantasy issue #2. Pretty solid follow-up to the first issue. Kari Andrews is doing this like fantasy-inspired story where Peter Parker, as a teenager, Black Widow, right as she's trying to first escape the Red Room, and Captain America from World War II all get flung into these fantasy worlds, 3 different islands on this ethereal, fantastic plane, and they're all dealing with their own thing. Like, Peter's there with Uncle Ben, Natasha's being offered to be a bride and a queen, and Captain America's trying to like save this tribe, and then he realizes there's something crazy going on there. So the artwork is great, the story's pretty solid, it is fantastical, it's out there, but I like the usage of the 3 characters. It could do a better job of bringing it all together, but this is intentionally a 5-issue series, so I'm sure that moment will be happening. But all in all, I like it. The artwork is fantastic, for sure. Strange Academy is here with issue #12. Loved it. And we got 12 straight issues with artwork by Humberto Ramos. I didn't think that was possible, but I am glad. This book has never dived. It's always soared because Ramos has been on that artwork. Scotty Young's able to create these new characters and use existing characters from all these different random mystical corners of the Marvel Universe and make me care. It's just doing what Teen Titans Academy wishes it could do. So it's all ramped up into a bit here. It's all connected to some of the Jason Aaron, Chris Pachalo, Doctor Strange stuff, and I really liked it. It's kind of like a big ending for the whole first year, the first 12 issues of Strange Academy, but obviously this book is not over. There's more to come, and I could not be more excited. This has been low-key one of Marvel's best comics. I know people talk about it, but I don't know if people talk about it enough. Strange Academy #12 was ballin'. Loved it. Black Widow is here with issue #10 for a book that started off super strong artistically, and the art's still fine, and the story's still decent enough, but it's just never quite grabbed me after that initial arc. And this is wrapping up the current arc, I Am Black Widow. It's Natasha with Yelena, and she's got other help like Spider-Woman. She's got Kate Bishop's Hawkeye here, but it just doesn't feel as exciting or as dynamic as the first arc did, or as Kelly Thompson's Hawkeye run did. So It's all right. The artwork's still cool, but it's just not selling me right now. And I'm 10 issues in. They say 50 though, so at least they didn't give us like a 10-pager anniversary special for 50 issues. But anyway, Black Widow was just okay. It's kind of losing me a little bit, to be honest. Cable Reloaded is here. I got that. Look at that Rob Liefeld cover. Cable Reloaded is a one-shot. It's tied into this Last Annihilation stuff that's going on in Guardians of the Galaxy, I think a little bit in Sword. And of course, this is written by Al Ewing. So now that Kid Cable's off of the table for now, Old Man Cable is back and taking his position at Sword. I was kind of lost, kind of confused. I think if you're following along with the Ewing work at Marvel, you'll probably get into this a little bit better. But that being said, I thought the artwork, I like Bob Quinn, but this one just kind of felt a little rushed. Didn't really quite work for me, a little too angular at times, and I don't know, just nothing connected me really here. There's some nice bits with some old school X-Force type stuff, but for the most part, I was disconnected from it, but it's because I haven't really been paying attention to all the cosmic Al Ewing stuff. Maybe I should. People say it's good. People say it's good. Wolverine number 15. So I'm on the last straw on most of these X-Men books, and Wolverine, you'll live to see another day. Not necessarily because I thought the book was good, but that the book just wasn't so bad that it just annoyed me. Like, I liked it enough, giving us the origin of Solemn, taking a while to get to some points, meandering around a little bit, could have been done a little bit shorter. Loving Adam Kubert's artwork. It's a nice throwback. Still new, though. Still different. Still interesting. So I like that. But Wolverine 15, it being mediocre as F, saved it from the cutting board. Anyway, Aliens here with issue number 6. It's wrapping up that first arc. Philip Kennedy Johnson, I think he's got elements here. There are ideas I really like. But the artwork by Salvador LaRocca at times feels a bit stiff. This was some of the more fluid and energetic artwork I think we've gotten from Salvador in the Aliens run. But I don't know, it just didn't really still do anything for me. And it gets to the end of the arc, and now we got to set up for what's to come. And I'm just not that interested. This may be my last Alien book. Maybe I'll just trade weight that. Hell, maybe I'll just omnibus weight that. I don't know. Let's jump over to DC, where we have Superman versus Lobo, number 1 of 3 from DC Black Label. This one's written by Tim Seeley? That's his cousin. Tim Seeley and Sarah Beatty, with artwork by Mirka Andolfo. Now, I wouldn't think that Mirka would be the perfect artist for this book, and I don't really necessarily like her Superman bits here, but her Lobo bits really freaking work. Like, Lobo looks great, drawn by Mirka Andolfo. The story is cool. It's kind of like this stand on its own take on Superman versus Lobo. So it's got the ridiculous heroism of Superman. It's got the noble boisterousness of the main man, Lobo himself. And then there's this nice little twist at the end as to what's going to happen in the next issue that I solidly loved. So this is extra sized. It's prestige format, so it's that magazine format. $6.99, but it's like 2 issues in one. I liked it. I thought it was cool. If you're a Lobo fan, I think you're really going to like it. Superman fans, yo, here's a rare occurrence. DC's got more Superman books this week than Batman. Don't worry, that trend's not going to last long. The Superman vs. Lobo is pretty solid. I liked it. It didn't try to do too much, but it didn't do too little. Superman vs. Lobo was pretty spot on. Then we got Superman 78, number 1, first of 6 issues. This was written by Robert Venditti with artwork by, is it Alfredo Torres? It's artwork by Wilfredo Torres. Loved this issue. Thought this was super cool. This was one of the best Superman first issues I've read in a long time. Why? Because it felt classic. It felt fun. It was completely inspired by the Richard Donner film. And it was also inspiring. Like, the artwork looked great. It still had this simple, fun, loud superhero nature to it, but it also still referenced and the characters, right, and the actors who portrayed them in those original movies. We got Brainiac showing up, lots of action, lots of nice little bits that really threw you back to that Richard Donner, Christopher Reeve film. I loved this book. I thought it was amazingly done. Amazingly well done. I thought it was way better than Batman 89. Superman 78. Wow. That book was really freaking cool. Then we got Superman Son of Kal-El, number 2. This one's a mixed bag for me. There are moments of this that I really like, and the moments of it where I think that the thematic nature of the story that Tom Taylor's trying to bring about is pushed too far into the front, or maybe I should just say a little too obvious, right? Like, I like it and I don't mind it. I think that Jonathan Kent would be struggling with what he's struggling with here. And what he's doing is he's thinking, Superman, he's the new Superman. Kal-El's going away to space, to War World. We'll get to that. But so Jonathan is Superman now, and he's trying to struggle with what does that mean to him. And there's a conversation that he has with his father about, like, why didn't you actually try to change the world, like feed people and end poverty, and why didn't you do these things? And he comes up with this kind of, I don't want to spoil too much, but he kind of comes with this thing where he's like, well, I'm not really human. You're part human, so this is your world. I was like, no, actually, I think Clark should go, no, Jonathan, I tried that. It doesn't work. But anyway, aside from that, like, I still like the book. I think the artwork's great. There's some nice action moments here. Jonathan is a character that Tom Taylor knows how to work with it, but it just feels like the thematic nature of the story is too much on display and not enough just Superman. I don't know. There's something I really like about the book, and also something really off that I don't like. Superman in Action Comics 1034. Loving this run. That's the automatic cat feeder. I don't know if you can hear that, but we're going to just wait for a second. All right, now where was I? Action Comics 1034. Philip Kennedy Johnson's been doing a great job with this book. He's turned it into a classic feeling sci-fi type story that's really ingrained and leaning into that sci-fi bit. So Clark Kent has come across some refugees from War World. There's more to them than beneath the eye. It starts breaking up. There's a moment in here of Superman involved in a political situation that I thought was handled very well because it was done in a very intense way. And I'm like, whoa, crap. There's a moment with him and Aquaman here that I was just like, I hope they really follow up on that. I honestly do. But Action Comics, I've liked. And the last couple issues kind of dragged down a little bit, but it was all set up for this moment. It was explosive. It was big. There were some moments in here where I was like, and it's been a while since I've been shocked by a Superman book. I mean, I was shocked that Superman 78 was really good, but I'm just like shocked by things that happen in the story where I'm like, oh, did they just do that? Oh, man. I really like it. I thought it was super cool. Batman Superman, number 21. This is the last issue of the series, but there is an annual to come. But this wraps up the whole story of, what is this guy even called? I don't even remember, but he's like this dude who's like on Earth Zero, who's like clipping other realities and trying to find the perfect reality. And there's an old school Superman, old school Batman. This has been a long, drawn out story, but it was a really nice climatic finish. Gene Luen Yang, Ivan Reis, Danny Mickey, loved it. Some nice Etrigan the Demon type stuff in here. Great artwork, really cool, crazy concepts. Maybe just padded a bit too much, let go a little bit too long. But by the end of it, there's some tie-ins to the Infinite Frontier and the looming crisis. Can you believe that there's a looming crisis on the horizon? Roll your eyes if you will. I'm excited. Batman Superman 21 is a book that has run its course, finally found some identity, stretched it too thin. Now it's good that it's over. Batman Reptilian here with issue number 3. Better than issue 2, better than issue 1. I think this book has gotten better. Better and better. I do have a slight criticism on Liam Sharp's artwork, which I love and adore Liam Sharp's artwork, and I love and adore his artwork here. It just is a bit too murky and dark. It's very non-distinct at times. It's hard to see the bit that's supposed to pop out. Maybe that was the lighting that I read it under. Maybe if I read it under these lights, it'd be a little bit better, but there's, even in the darkest of stuff from like a Bill Sienkiewicz or a Dave McKean, which this definitely feels like it's leaning into that kind of a style, even the darkest of bits from there had like moments that I could see that popped off the page. Maybe it's something new. I'm sure it's less to do with Sharp's talent and his technique and more to do with the page and printing quality. That being said, this is a really dark book. I think that Garth Ennis does a great job. I'm more in line on what's going on now. We basically got this like reptilian monster going around taking a bite of Gotham's underworld one at a time. Penguin, Freeze, Poison Ivy. Keep going down the list. This one, the monster goes after Joker. And let's just say that Joker's found a reason to be scared. I thought it was good. I like that a lot. Like, way better than 1 and 2. I thought that was, and they just keep getting better. Detective Comics 1042. It's all right. So this wraps up the whole jury story, the Vile stuff, and there's some nice moments in here. Victor Bogdanovic is back on the artwork, and I actually like the artwork throughout most of it. It didn't feel rushed. Didn't feel like it was forced. But the Worth stuff still bothers me. Like, why is just this random rich dude able to like just pick Batman up and throw him? Like, it's just so stupid to me. That being said, Batman's possessed by the toxin of the vile dude or whatever, right? So you basically get like the Davy Jones Locker version of Batman, Bat Cthulhu, and he's got like the squid. It's a cool visual. It's neat, but the story just didn't do anything dissimilar to other Batman stories that are literally going on, or just wrapped up. So it just doesn't do enough to stand on its own. But that being said, I still think that this is a nice solid title. I think it shines more when Dan Mora is on the artwork, but Victor didn't do too bad of a job there. Robin number 5 was here. This is a great issue. Great issue. So the basic premise of Robin right now by Josh Williamson is, what if Robin joined Mortal Kombat? For teenagers, basically. And you got Connor Hawke, you got Ravager, you got other characters, and it's awesome. It's interesting. And then there's this little detour off the island before the actual tournament starts where Damian's like training with Ra's al Ghul. I thought that was a little dumb, like he left the island to go do this side story, but on his way back, he gets confronted by all the Robins, and they have this crazy rooftop chase. And they're trying to like come to Damian to find out, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. There's some really nice moments. This was a really solid book. It's got all these glorious references to past story arcs and character arcs and character dynamics, especially between Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne. Really touching, emotional moments that finally give a little bit more weight to certain things that happened in Batman runs recently that just wasn't quite well executed. I'm not naming names, but bomb bing rhymes. So Robin number 5 was great, though. I mean, it was action. It was evolving the story. It was doing emotional bits. It was calling back to the past. It had these references, but it still felt fresh. It still felt new. And then at the end of it, it hit a crescendo, a point where I was like, damn, I can't wait for the next issue. Robin was awesome. Robin was awesome. Wonder Woman is here with issue 778. This Afterworld story's gone on way too freaking long. We finally get Tradd Moore back on the artwork, but I'm just not digging it. In fact, I'm looking right now to see where did she wind up. Oh, that's right. I forgot what world she wound up. She winds up in the 5th dimension in this one. So you got some Mixtus-Pilic action. You got some Batmite action. But for the most part, it was kind of dumb. Just didn't do it. I'm like, let's move on with our lives. Wonder Woman. I get it. She's lost in the sphere of the gods, but there was so much weight spent on the Asgardian Valhalla type stuff. And all these other ones have just been little bits, and I'm just like, it's making the story feel uneven, unstructured, and just wandering about. I guess that's the point. Wandering Wonder Woman, but 778, it's not bad, but it is wearing thin on me. Wonder Woman Black and Gold, issue number, 3? This was the weakest one. I didn't really like this one. Janet Harvey, Megan Levins, Robert Vendetti, Steve Epting. Steve Epting on the artwork. Steve Epting on a Wonder Woman book, an ongoing Wonder Woman book. Steve Epting on an ongoing Wonder Woman book. I'm just going to say that. And a few other creators. I don't really know many of these creators. Some of the artwork was cool, and it was fine. That Steve Epting stuff, though, we need to get Steve Epting on that. It was all right. This is for the most hardcore Wonder Woman fans only. Right there. Then we got Milestone returning, of course, with Icon and Rocket, issue number 2. Issue number 1 intrigued me enough, but issue number 2 was clunky, all over the place. One scene didn't naturally lead to another. It felt like it was jarring and disoriented. I never quite just got into it. And that's been something that's been prevalent on all of these Milestone books for me so far. I want to know more about these characters. I had never gotten a Milestone back in the day, so I thought this was a perfect opportunity. And it's even the ones I thought start off strong, like Static and Icon and Rocket, by issue 2, it's just not so much. It just feels like it's jarring. It's just not put together very well, in my opinion. Icon and Rocket, issue number 2. Meh. Should I read the old school stuff? I mean, that stuff's good, right? Because people love that. What should I read? What's the best stuff from that run? Somebody let me know, please. Something is Killing the Children. It's issue number 19. So this is exploring more of Erica's past. There is a certain trial that members of the House of Slaughter have to do where they get left alone with a monster in a room. And it's like a mental thing, but it's a physical thing too. This was an excellent issue. So this is Erica, who is already too old to be trained, right? And there was this big sense of foreboding being built up in the last episode, in the last issue, which it's crazy to me that it worked so well in the last issue because we know that Erica is going to survive this. right? So all the buildup making me like worried for Erica, that was really cool. Then you get to the actual test itself, and I'm still worried for Erica. And then when she does eventually, and no spoilers, we know Erica makes it through, but when she starts turning the tide on that test, you're just like, whoa. And it was literally some of the most inspiring comic books I read. And some of the most inspiring comic books by James Tynion I'd ever read. Artwork solid, really cool stuff. Something is killing the children. Need I say more? We have Once and Future returning with issue number 19. So after the events of the last arc, which was arc 3, we're now starting the 4th arc. Things have gone crazy, yo. So this book is about an evil King Arthur and an evil Merlin and what happens when they show up and they win, bro. That's what just happened. It's kind of like Final Crisis. Like, dude, heroes lost. So now it's time to pick up the pieces. Where's the story go? So I love how it starts right in the middle of something. It brings us up to speed. It introduces another concept of British folklore and legend with fairies and their own interesting spin on it by Kieran Gillen. And then, of course, the artwork by Dan Moore is pretty cool. It doesn't feel as precise as the previous arcs. I'm pretty sure it's also because he's dividing his time between this and Detective Comics, but it was great. It was cool. Long live the king, baby. And one of the kings in comics right now is Once and Future. That book's freaking awesome. Dark Blood issue number 2 is here. I liked it. I thought issue number 1 was good, but it didn't build up enough of a hook. So I came back to issue number 2, and immediately I was like, I remember this dude. He's involved in the military. It's set in 55 Alabama for the most part. He's a black dude, so he's dealing with racism and all that, and all that stuff. And he's developed some kind of powers. And then, like, this felt weird as to where it was placed. And I didn't quite know where we were, but it didn't matter. It was an incredibly well-told story. Well executed, incredibly well written, and it just engaged me more so than issue number 1. And issue number 1 had all of the big stuff that you would expect to be the hook, but I really get hooked in issue number 2 because of the emotional content, resonance, and weight of this story. Dark Blood number 2 of 6. Super freaking solid. I'm just throwing comics around. From Vault Comics, Barbaric number 3. This is the final issue for now. This is the end of book 1, but don't feel like we got cheated of anything, because even though it was just 3 issues, they were all extra sized, and it ends phenomenally well. Issue number 1 blew me away. Issue number 2 I thought was a little bit of a step down. Still super solid, though. Issue number 3, though, wraps up this story great, sets up the gist of Barbaric to come, and I am ready for the road. This is going to be a story that's told through a series of miniseries and one-shots. Think of it something like Hellboy, and I just don't mean with the format of how it will be released, but I just mean with the way these adventures are going. It's got this nice, fun, like, blue-collar sense to, like, some kind of fantastical story. Owen the Barbarian, if you're not familiar, Owen the Barbarian is cursed with immortality. Or should I say he's cursed to go to hell when he dies. But he's got a gift of being immortal as long as he always helps those in need, and he's guided by his axe named Axe, who talks and drinks blood and gets drunk on blood. And now we have Soren the Witch. This was just such a great final issue for this arc because it just brought to a head everything that was going on. It was irreverent, it was rambunctious, it was boisterous, it was loud, it was explosive, it was fun, and at the same time did a great job of just setting up what the direction of the series is. Michael Morisi, Nathan Gooden, and company, they nailed it. They nailed it. The Blue Flame is here with issue number 4. 4 issues in, and I'm just not feeling it. I'm just not digging it. It's just, so I feel like there's so much more to this story, but they're taking so long to bring the pieces together, I'm starting to lose my patience. Now, I trust Vault, but I don't necessarily trust Chris Cantwell on superhero works. I'm just not usually the biggest fan. I'm a big fan of his work on the book Everything, though, from Dark Horse. So this is about a superhero who's got 2 different versions of his life going on. One in which he's this great cosmic hero, and he's been put on trial for all of humanity by all these alien races. So it's a big cosmic story. Then on another one, he's more of a low-rent type hero who was involved in a mass shooting, and all of his super team members and other people died, and he survived, and now his life has kind of gone to shit. He's trying to slowly get it back together. I don't quite see the juxtaposition, and it's losing me. it's just losing me. 4 issues in, and I'm just, unfortunately, just not that excited about it. Becstar is here with issue number 4, the penultimate issue for now. This is written by Joe Corallo, friend of the show. Super cool dude. So I don't want to go too hard on this book, but I will tell you this. Lorenzo Calangeli on the artwork, fantastic, dynamic, beautiful colors, a great cover by Sweeney Boo. But I like it. It's great sci-fi, operatic adventure. There's like a little bit of Indiana Jones thrown into like a snarky vision of like a Star Wars type thrill ride, and I have a lot of fun. The voices of all the characters ring true. This keeps hyping up all of the action. Each issue has been pitch perfect as to where it's supposed to be and where it's supposed to be placed. And I will go ahead and admit that I have read issue 5, the final issue, and to see how it all comes together and how it does still have a very emotionally resonant story that ties it all together. Beckstar is amazing. Y'all need to read Becstar. And then from Dynamite, we got Deja Thoris versus John Carter of Mars, issue number 2. Look at that cover. I've been digging it. So I do still feel a little bit lost because I was a fan of the Warlord of Mars stuff when I was a kid. I used to read some of those books. And then when Dynamite first launched, the Warlord of Mars stuff, I read it for a little bit, then I fell out of it. And now I'm reading this and I'm like way lost. But this one, it didn't matter being lost because I was able to like sink myself into the story a little bit more. Basically what's going on is Deja Thoris is in charge. She's like the baddest one, right? She's like the king, the queen, whatever, right? And she is trying to find out about this villain through another villain, and then she kind of gets captured by this other villain, and we haven't quite got to it yet, but I feel the wheels spinning on how we're going to get Deja Thoris versus John Carter of Mars. So, that being said, I really liked it, and I'm thinking about catching up on Warlord of Mars. So, there you go. Deja Thoris versus John Carter of Mars. Look, interesting cover. Anyway, is it hot in here? Did he say me? Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. We're good. All right. Thank you guys and gals and everybody else so much for watching the video. Thank you for all the support. Let me know. What are you reading? What are you digging? What are you loving? What's your pick of the week? Let us know in the comments down below. Let's keep that comic book conversation going. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell so you don't miss a single video, and check us out at popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts, blogs, and a whole lot more. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station.